Well, we only went and broke our own transfer record, but this time I didn't buy a striker. Hello and welcome to part 179 of Backing the Boro. I'm Kevin, coming up on today's episode a little earlier than anticipated because we're still in January, but we've got We have Man City and Arsenal in back-to-back league games. They've been our major competition for the last couple of seasons, although City are having a bit of an off-season and have been replaced in the title hunt by Man United. But Man City away, Arsenal at home. Seems like we should probably show you those two games. Since you were last with me, our run of good form has continued, including the thumping 5-0 win against Manchester United and lots of league wins since then. The only time we had any kind of struggle really was against Burnley in the first leg of the Carabao Cup semi-final, but we did play a rotated team in that game. To be fair, the same rotated team that played against Manchester City a couple of days before in the FA Cup and beat them. So I am hopeful of this game against Man City because we're putting the first team out there again. And it's a first team that has been complemented by the signing of a new record transfer. Christian Barbas is a 23-year-old Argentinian midfielder who can also play centre-back or defensive midfielder, but we've signed him to be a midfield player. He's a natural in all of the midfield positions we use. So it'd be mad not to sign this man. 3.5-star current ability, 4-star potential. We can now play an entire central midfield of Argentinian 23-year-olds if we want to, who have full international appearances with Barbas, Centurion and Caminero. All 23, all Argentinian, all between 3 and 4 caps for Argentina. So I might do that at some point. We're not going to do it today. But this lad was at Racing Club in Argentina, where Man United plucked him from obscurity a couple of years ago. And then I guess he just didn't get put into their Premier League squad for this season because he's not played for them at all. He will play for us, though. He's going to play for us today as part of this team. We've got Harry's in goal, a back four of Roberts, Ripert, Taraka and Coupler, with Caminero, Ruzic and Barbas in midfield, and Serenok Nuhu in behind Jones and Piazza. Piazza, by the way, who has now won European Golden Boy. If we just have a look at his... this lad... European Golden Boy. If we have a look at Nuneaton as a club, we've moved him up to vice captain because he's a natural born leader. He'll be our captain soon, maybe even before he's 20. He's already our key player. He's already 4.5-star current ability. He's the best player we've had in the entire save. We've given him a new contract for another 4 years on £175,000 a week. He's worth over 50 million quid. He's playing regularly for Brazil and scoring goals. He's only 19. We've got a perfectionist Brazilian wonder kid. The world's gone mad. He's having a rather good season. And he's going to be, hopefully, tearing Manchester City apart again today. But it is crazy to think that Iker Alonso, who was in the Premier League select team last year, can't even get in our team because Jones is back in good form. He's not scoring goals as prolifically as he used to, but he is playing as our support striker now alongside Piazza. But Jones is the third best player in the Premier League on average rating. Piazza's the best. He's the third top scorer in the league as well. Piazza's played probably half a dozen games of this season in midfield as well, just so that we can get Alonso and Mustafa into the team. The big games he always plays up front, but sometimes I just stick him back in midfield and play a couple of other strikers. We've even tried the three up front a couple of times with Alonso, Piazza and Jones all together, especially while Nuhu's been injured recently. But Nuhu now back fit for the first time in a little while. It's been a rotating, do we do Esteban, do we have three up front? And we've got lots of options now. We have a lot of very good players. Deothin's retiring at the end of the season. Thomas Day is injured for about a month from now. So we have only really got 2 centre-backs at the moment. I would have liked to have brought in a centre-back. We've still got a couple of weeks of January left and about £10 million to spend. I don't know that we're going to find the defender we need for 10 million quid, but then Ripert only cost us 4 million when we brought him in. So it is possible to do, but there just doesn't seem to be any options out there. But one of the motivators behind Barbas is he's as good as any other midfielder we've got. He's young, he's got potential, but he is an accomplished centre-back as well. I don't want to play him there, but if we get to the point where we've got injuries and we run out of defenders, at least we do now have another guy who is capable of playing there. That was quite a good goal. They didn't do that against us in the FA Cup tie. I'm starting to suspect they may have played a reserve team against us, just like we played a reserve team against them. And maybe our reserves are better than their reserves, but that was a good goal. Is that Ripert or Taraka who's not tracking properly? Number 4, Ripert, I think. Yeah, Ripert's number 4, isn't he? Rijpert's still being chased by, I think, Bayern Munich and Barcelona are the ones who are after him. He does want to go. We've told him we're going to win a trophy this season, and that's been enough to make him stay. So we are still in everything. So as far as I'm concerned, as long as we win one of the Premier League, Carabao Cup, FA Cup or Champions League, he's going to be happy. Obviously, if we win the Champions League, we don't care if he's happy or not, because we're in the save then. But I do still think it's going to be a bit of a tall order winning the Champions League this year. But then it depends if Piazza decides to just go and win it by himself and drag us along with him. He's not playing particularly well today, though, which is why we're losing. I think we're going to need to make a change. We're going to make a change up front. We're going to bring off Jones, bring Alonso on. Just swap those two over. Alonso has been in very good goal-scoring form recently. Got a couple of goals in our last game. So if we've got a striker who is in the goals, top scorer from last year, of course, remember Alonso. So hopefully he can continue to add to his tally. But it's Sir Enoch Nuhu who's in and scores. And Mr. Big Game Player is at it again. It's his first game of 2040, if that's the year we're in. It's his first game this year, though, after being injured. I think he was injured just before Christmas. And what a calm finish from Nuhu. He's just a superstar. What a goal. Now we've got 25 minutes to see if we can grab a winner from somewhere. I know we're away from home against Man City, and we will be happy with the draw if that's all we end up getting. But obviously we want to win. Barbas hasn't had the best of debuts, has he? Let's get Wanda on for him. Swap those two over. Do a more familiar midfield three. We also need to keep an eye on Nuhu, who is recovering from injury. Plus Piazza's not playing very well. We do have Mustafa on the bench as well, who's an option to come on to try and grab us a late goal. Ruzic challenges, plays it forward towards, I don't even know who that's towards. That was towards Alonso, I think. Wanda to Nuhu. It's with Alonso again. Alonso running at the City defence. The ball drops to Piazza, who finds Nuhu. Nuhu to Caminero. This feels like a goal. Alonso plays Piazza in, who completely mishit it. And I think that's time to get him off. He's not having a very good game. Let's take him off. Get Mustafa on. Mustafa can play as the more attacking of the two. Alonso dropping over to be our support striker. And yeah, I don't want to break my superstar who's got the potential to be the best player in the world by keeping him on the pitch when he's not playing well and letting him make mistakes like that. It'll ruin him. Mr. Perfectionist will get all grumpy. And it is, we've talked about this before with Piazza. He's kind of like a reverse Nuhu. As a perfectionist, if he plays against teams he's obviously better than, he tears them apart and is completely dominating. He's had a game this season where he scored 4 goals. I do worry a little bit about how the perfectionist personality trait impacts on big games like this. Because obviously when you're playing against... Man City have been the best club team in the world for the last however many years. When you're playing against a team who are potentially at least as good as you, if not some of them probably better than him at the moment, frustration and stuff can set in, and I guess it can make it difficult. He doesn't often perform in the really big games, so we do need to keep an eye on that. And perhaps we need Nuhu to tutor. Piazza's beyond tutoring now, isn't he? The ideal thing would be you get Nuhu to tutor him and teach him the ways of being a big game player, but now he's a key player himself. You can't tutor him, which is a bit silly, considering he's only 19. Alonso closing down their keeper, and if he'd have been a little bit more tackly, we might have grabbed an equaliser there. But I think it's just a game that we've not really turned up for, and we need to sort ourselves out before the Arsenal game. So if we lose against Arsenal as well, a defeat away against Man City is never a disaster, especially when we've run them close. But if we follow this up with a home defeat against Arsenal, that puts Arsenal top of the league and does start to cause us a few problems as we reopen our Champions League campaign in like a month's time. Alonso now with the chance for a last second equaliser, finds Wanda, loses the ball. That's that. We've lost the game, I think. There's not going to be anything more from here. Roberts does make a tackle though, plays it forward towards Alonso, and Alonso now loses out. City, you've got a decent defence, haven't they? They've kind of snubbed out our attack. The best attack in the Premier League have been cancelled out by what presumably is the best defence in the world. Yeah. We'll get our own back against Arsenal now. Here's a strange situation. James Ball, as our head of youth development, has got a nice little transfer budget sat there now, that 10 million quid that I'm not really spending. He's decided to go after a striker. I'm leaving him to it. If he thinks this lad's a decent striker, we should probably scout him. I mean, there's some ranges there that he could fall into being any good or not any good at all. But the weird thing about him is that he's English, he was born in England, has no second nationality, can speak fluent Hungarian now because he spent so much time in Hungary. But he came through the youth team at Charlton, but then without any transfer fee, Charlton in the National League, by the way, which is interesting, came through the youth team at Charlton, then ended up at Újpest in Hungary without a transfer fee, where he's been for the last 3 years, and now not only is James Ball after him because he started scoring goals, but a whole bunch of other Premier League teams are trying to sign him as well. Lots of other clubs interested. I don't understand how this lad ended up in Hungary rather than any of us Premier League teams noticing him sooner. He's never come up on any of my scout reports, again, presumably because he's in Hungary. But how does James Ball know about him? Who knows? We might be signing Simon Ganley and we'll find out if he's any good when he arrives. There's no changes for the team for the Arsenal game. We're just going to go with the 11 that we picked for the last match, keeping an eye on New Boy because he didn't have the best of games against City and we need him to be a little bit better against Arsenal. Arsenal don't have Twan in their team. He's sat on the bench. What a waste. I'll take him. If we can, we'll have him for 5 million quid, the same price we paid for Nuhu. I don't understand. He would have been a regular starter for the last 3 years if he'd have been here. And we've won the league more recently than Arsenal have. So he's sitting on a bench of a poorer side. What a silly bear. Obviously, this is a massive top-of-the-table clash. We do have a game in hand over Arsenal. But if they beat us, that kind of counts for nothing then because we could win the game in hand and still stay behind them. Obviously, a win and we can forget all about what happened at Man City, because we'd be 3 points clear at the top of the league with a game in hand over Arsenal. Although Man United in third do have a game in hand over us and they're only 1 point behind at the moment. Charlie Jones is in and puts us 1-0 up. Why has he got the C next to his name? Do we have another Jones in our team or is there a Jones on the other team? Pretty sure we don't have another Jones. I feel like I'd have noticed. Barbas, though, is very much involved in this goal. Plays it across to Nuhu. Nuhu slots it through brilliantly to Jones, who tucks it away for 1-0. It's good to have Charlie Jones back. The Charlie Jones we've had in recent months, he's the same player who was the top scorer in Europe 2 years ago. He looks that good. I'm assuming there's a Jones in the Arsenal team because I really can't see one in our team. Yeah, they've got a D Jones on the left side of their midfield. Don't really get why that means our guy needs to have a C in front of his name. He could just be Blue Jones. Blue Jones and Red Jones. Seems a more sensible way to do it. That's how I'd be doing it if I was a commentator for the BBC. Nuhu with the ball forward towards Blue Jones. Across to Piazza, but it can't quite get there. And, yeah, Blue Jones rolls off the tongue nicely. Arsenal are in behind here. It's Taraka to cover. He doesn't get there. Harris didn't look awake either. But luckily the shooting is a little wayward and we get away with it. But we haven't exactly dominated this game so far. Both teams struggling to create much in the way of chances. We've had a lot more of the possession, but we've not really done anything with it. And it would be nice for us to grab a second goal just before half-time, because I have a feeling Arsenal are going to get back into this game at some point, because we've seen over the last few years, they're a pretty good team. Arsenal, they were better than us last year. Barbas now. Oh, that's beautiful. Plays it into Nuhu. £32 million well spent. Nuhu doesn't find Piazza, though. And Piazza, very absent again today. Another big game that has he not turned up for again? Do we just play him against the Dross for now and bring Alonso in for the big games? Because I don't know. How do you train being a big game player into a 19-year-old who you can't tutor anymore? Nuhu. Talking of big game players. There he is again. I've never seen Nuhu do a cartwheel before, but he'll do a cartwheel. Age 29 now. He can still hit a free kick from just about anywhere in the opposition half and stick it into the back of the net. I said I wanted a goal just before half-time. It's exactly what we've got. Nuhu is, he's just the man. I can't believe I had that couple of seasons where I didn't play him all the time. I was talking about Arsenal wasting Twan. We've wasted Nuhu. You lot in the comments should have told me to play him. But that was a lovely little free kick. Right, I am already thinking in terms of getting Piazza off, though, just to protect him more than anything. He's had 2 very poor games on this episode. You'll look at it, you won't believe he's the man who's tearing the world apart and looks like the hottest prospect in Europe, because he really has looked like that in pretty much every other match. It doesn't bode well for us trying to win the Champions League this year, though, if our best player bottles it in big games. Jones into Barbas, who has been everywhere in that midfield. Nuhu back to Barbas again. Back to Nuhu again. Caminero, Jones, Piazza. Lovely pass out to Roberts. That's better from Piazza. And there's Jones. And that's 3-0. And we're making up for the performance against Man City, where we couldn't get control of that game at all. We struggled in this one early on, but we have kind of established ourselves in it now. And it's another good assist from Roberts, who he's had a little bit of a stick down in the comments for perhaps not being the best left back defensively. You know what? I don't care. He can cross like that and does it all the time. So I'm not that bothered if he can't defend. I'd rather he was whipping those crosses in for our front two. Right, Taraka's given away a penalty here. Harry's going to save it. Well, hopefully that's not the start of the Arsenal comeback. They've had 2 clear-cut chances to our 0, so we are completely mugging them at the moment. Just because we've got some very, very good strikers who can make, and obviously Nuhu, who can make goals out of not very much. Even the Jones goal just now, it was a nice cross, but it was a very difficult angle to score from. Right, we are going to take off Piazza, bring on Alonso, threatened to do it for long enough. We're also going to take off Caminero and bring on Centurion, and we're going to leave it there for now. Save a substitution for a little bit later in the game. You know, I always do that. That's how we have to do these things. Nuhu into Centurion. Barbas. Jones has a hat-trick. And what a goal again. Charlie Jones is leading by example today. We're talking about Piazza maybe not being a big game player, maybe being a little bit intimidated by being the vice-captain now. And I think that was the problem we had with Jones last year. He was made captain at quite a young age, and it cost him a season of awesomeness, but he has absolutely grown into that role now. And in the biggest home game of our season against the team who have pushed us all the way for this top of the league spot this season, Jones has just stepped up and said, yeah, that's right, I'm the captain, I'm going to score a hat-trick. This is how you do it. Let's get Francisco on into midfield. Don't even need to bring Wanda on in these situations. We've got Sretenovic, Wanda and Mustafa all sat on the bench, not needing to come on. We've got Thomas Day not fit. Esteban didn't even make it onto the bench today. Fernandez didn't make it onto the bench. We have got quality all the way through this squad now, and it's awesome. Centurion to Barbas. Nuhu, can we grab number 5? It's Jones again to Centurion. To Barbas. Across to Roberts. Can we have another super cross? No, he plays it forward to Jones. Jones squares it to Alonso, and that is number 5. Alonso grabs another goal. Nuneaton 5, Arsenal 1. This was a top-of-the-table clash, everybody, and we've torn them apart. Forget what happened against Manchester City at the start of the episode. We're going to call that a fluke. This is the Nuneaton team that I've seen playing offline for the last 18 months of this save, and we never see it on camera. I can only assume I've forgotten to turn the camera on, because you don't ever get to see us play like this. This is how good we are in 80% of the games we play. And I am very, very happy that you're finally seeing it. Centurion, we've got time for one more. Out to Roberts. No, we don't. But 5-1. I can handle 5-1 when we didn't create a single clear-cut chance. That shows how good we are going forward. That was mad. That'll do. Let's have a quick look at the league table before the episode ends. Remember, we have 2 big cup games plus more Champions League stuff to come. We could have a very impressive season if things continue to go our way. So the league table looks like this. We are top. 23 games played, game in hand on everybody apart from Man United have a game in hand on us, but we are 3 points clear of United with a much better goal difference. So even if they win their game in hand, we should still be top. If we win our game in hand on Arsenal, we pull clear of them. And if we have a look at the players, we have 2 of the best players in the league, although Jones has now moved up to 2nd, and Piazza, after 2 poor performances, dropped down to 3rd and also dropped out of the top 3 on top scorers as well. We need Piazza to sort himself out a little bit before the next episode. And the next episode is likely to be a Champions League episode, probably the 2nd leg against Sevilla. Might be the first leg if we get a bunch of other cup games squashed in there as well. But we'll do a Champions League game and then check in and see how we're doing in the league as well. If you have enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.